I am hot. You are hot. We are all baking right now as a massive ridge of high pressure sets up over the United States. How long is this heat gonna last? And who's gonna get in on that storm action? Along with a big update on the tropics that you're gonna wanna see. I've got all that and more. Today's forecast starting now. I am literally sweating. All right, we're gonna dive right into our forecast today, and we are going to start on the visible satellite. And one view we got from space right now, we have a low pressure up here in Canada with a trailing cold front. That has been the focal point for all of the showers and storms that we had yesterday in Minnesota and Nebraska. And today that will continue to march off to the east, and that will be our main catalyst for storms that we get in places like Wisconsin and Iowa. Now, look at the rest of the United States. We have very little to zero clouds, and that is why we are so hot right now, because we've got a big ridge of high pressure. All of the storms are going over top of it, and underneath of that big time ridge, we're baking. And our West Coast brethren, once again, I feel like you guys don't get any weather in the summer. You guys are cloud free every single time. And then our Florida brethren, you guys are getting westerly flow here. So big time showers and storms can be expected in the morning on the East Coast and then in the afternoon and evening on the West Coast. All right, so here's our watches and warnings map. And no, those are not severe thunderstorm related. Those are heat advisories in orange. And then we've got excessive heat warnings here in red and pink. And those are for our East Coast brethren and for our Midwest brethren. So incredibly hot temperatures are persisting across much of the eastern half of the country. And although we don't have any warnings down here in the southeast, that does not mean it's not hot. You guys are also baking. And also, interestingly enough, our New Mexico brethren, you guys are under some flood advisories. The monsoon season is starting to crank up there. Now, how long are we going to be stuck in this pattern with all of this heat? Let's take a look at the upper levels to give us a better idea of how this is all going to go down. This is the Euro model, and if we go through Monday through Tuesday, check it out. Here's that ridge of high pressure. Notice all of the energy, the jet streams are going right over top of it. That is where all the storms are. So all the storms will likely stay, or most of the storms should stay to the north in Canada. But this massive ridge of high pressure, watch how long it just sits over top of the eastern half of the United States. This is Tuesday. This is Wednesday. This is Thursday. It's still there in the eastern United States. And if we go into next weekend, it starts to degrade a little bit, but it still is sitting there, guys. This is crazy. So at least for the next week, big time heat is going to stick around with no relief in sight. All right, now what about severe weather? Who's going to get it and when? Let's take a look at that, and then we'll look at the tropics. Okay, so this is Monday. This is today, June 23rd, and we do have this area of severe weather here that's along that cold front. Remember that cold front I showed you on the visible satellite? That is where storms will fire today, and the main areas that are at risk are up here in the Midwest, in Wisconsin, through the upper peninsula of Michigan, down into Iowa, and eventually into Kansas. We could have storms as far south as Texas and New Mexico, but by far the places with the biggest risk are here, and that is where we have our tornado risk. Now, this is a 2%, guys. This is not that big of a risk. We had a 5% yesterday. We saw what happened with that. Not a lot of tornadoes, so the tornado threat today is lower, and I'm not expecting a widespread outbreak. But if you do live in, I think we could get a spin up or two, especially here to the north, closer to that low. So our Wisconsin brethren, our Iowa brethren, and even up into our upper peninsula of Michigan brethren, heads up. The wind threat is why we have this slight risk for today. Could get some damaging wind gusts. Once again, I'm not too impressed with this setup. These storms should be more of a nuisance, less of a danger. Just have a way to get weather warnings in case one of them does go ballistic. Now, here's how today's going to play out. You're likely waking up potentially with rain here in Minnesota. That is the leftovers of the storms that we had in Nebraska yesterday. Watch those as we go throughout the day. Let's go 4, 5, 6 p.m. Boom! Look at this big line of storms. Wow, I didn't even see this, guys. That goes from Wisconsin all the way down back into Kansas. So even though we don't have a significant tornado threat, some of these storms could be big time. And let's zoom in on this because we'll have a lot of energy at place as we go throughout dinner time. The storms just bowl their way off to the east, and look at this line. This is right along that cold front. Now let's go 9, 10, 11. It's not until after dark in the early morning hours on Tuesday that those storms fall apart. But because this is a line of storms, they'll have a little bit of a harder time rotating. So that's why we only have that 2% risk for these storms, but any one of these could spin up in that line. We're going to have weak southerly winds, so those are going to work their way into the storms as well. Just have your head on a swivel tonight here. But notice how the updraft helicity tracks really doesn't have much. These storms won't be spinning too vigorously. That's good. Okay, now outside of that corridor of showers and storms that we'll have, which is right in there. Look at that big line of storms. We also have your kind of daytime showers and storms down here along the Gulf Coast. That's all from that sea breeze. So heads up, our southeast brethren. And then we've also got the monsoon starting in New Mexico. So New Mexico, you're likely to deal with some flooding today from those storms. Outside of that, look at our East Coast brethren. You guys are chilling today, although you will be baking big time flames here for all the heat coming up. But a lot of the storm action outside of our Midwest brethren is likely to stay north of the Canada border. That's where we'll have actually some tornadoes possible right in this region, as we've got that low up here and we'll have plenty of twist in the atmosphere. So heads up north of Ottawa for our Canadian brethren. All right, now let's take a look at tomorrow. And notice, once again, guys, we're starting to calm down with our severe weather. We just have this slight risk. I feel like it's been every day we've had a big time risk. We could get some very strong storms tomorrow, but it's in a generally confined area. Let me zoom in here and show you what we got. Places like Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, Cheyenne, or Cheyenne, as I like to say, even up into Rapid City and Gillette, Wyoming. That'll be the focal point for our most significant showers and storms tomorrow. And that is where we do have this 2% risk of some tornadoes. So I think some spin-ups are definitely possible here. Outside of that, notice how the rest of the United States, there is no tornado risk. We are going to get daytime showers and storms, and we could get some showers and storms right along a leftover cold front that's going to be sweeping through the United States, and that's where we have this marginal risk as well. So from Iowa all the way through the East Coast into Maine, expect a corridor of some stronger storms. Gusty winds will be the primary threat though, guys, so that is good. Now, how is tomorrow gonna time out? Well, I'm gonna show you right now. Tomorrow morning, we likely could wake up with some showers and storms in Nebraska and in Iowa. Look at this. Some average showers and storms will be sweeping through the area, but then as we go throughout the day, those should reinvigorate right there. That's when some storms could go through Chicago and then further off to the east into Michigan and Detroit. Also, more showers and storms during the day. And then even going into portions of the Northeast, we do have some showers and storms that'll roll through and push down from Canada. But once again, notice how a lot of these, if we go in Maine, down Vermont, New Hampshire, into Detroit, through Michigan, through Illinois, they just don't look that significant. I think these storms will be more annoying, less dangerous. More of a heads up for your Tuesday evening plans. If you live in this region, you're likely to get wet. Now let's take a look at our plains brethren over here, and these are the severe storms that we're expecting Tuesday night. We've got one cluster here in South Dakota, one cluster here in Colorado. These are going to be sweeping their way off to the east, and this is where we'll have the greatest chance, albeit a small one, to get a tornado. And going into the overnight hours on Wednesday, Nebraska likely to have another noisy, moist night. And then our southeast brethren, once again, more daytime storms on the way as that high spins all of this moisture off of the Gulf, spins it up into the United States. That, along with the sea breeze, will kick off some evening showers and storms. Once the sun sets, though, notice they are gone. All right, now let's take a look at Wednesday. I don't know why I'm talking like that, but we have more showers and storms on the way. Guys, we are getting really quiet severe weather-wise. This is what normally happens in June. What we've been seeing has been a bit of an anomaly, but we're starting to quiet down in a big way. We do have this risk for marginal severe storms down here and down here in the southeast. Once again, though, guys, there's just not a lot of upper level support for these storms. So these will be more your gusty winds, your storms that bubble up and then bubble down. And same thing with these up here. These will be more your daytime garden variety storms. Never understood that. Like, whose garden are we talking about? I wonder how our Des Moines brothers are doing. I love saying Des Moines. Des Moines, Des Moines, Des Moines. I had to re-record this whole segment because I didn't have my mic on. I'm an idiot. All right, so some of you remember me showing this a couple of videos ago. These are our dew points, and this gives you a good idea about how moist it feels outside. Said the big time dew points are coming, and they are here. Let me just show you what the next couple of days, how long is this moist air mass gonna last? This is Monday. This is Tuesday. It's still there. This is Wednesday. It's still there. Thursday, Friday, into the weekend, it goes nowhere. So we are going to have downright moist conditions for the whole week. And if I zoom in and show you, we are going to have dew points 75 in Detroit, close to 70 Indianapolis, 72 Kansas City, upper 70s in the southeast, and Pittsburgh 74. So, and even Columbus, look, it's like 70, I think. So that heat is going to stick around, and with it, the moistness will stay too. And with it, things will feel muggy, oppressive, downright moist. Chat loves it when I say moist. All right, at the beginning of the video, I teased the tropics were starting to heat up, and this is why. We are likely about to have our first named system in the Atlantic for the 2025 hurricane season. And here it is. The National Hurricane Center is giving this a 70% chance to develop into a tropical cyclone in the next 48 hours. Now, what does that mean for the United States? Will this be a threat? No, it will not. This is going to be a fish storm. What we mean by that is it's going to piss some fish off. Here is going to be the track of this sucker. It's going to move away from the United States, but towards our European brethren. But the good news is that most models, even though they do have it developing, here it is right there, kind of nestled right underneath or right to the west of that high pressure. It's getting steered this way by that high pressure. Notice how it's not very strong, guys. I don't think this is going to form into a hurricane. I think we're likely talking about maybe a tropical depression, potentially a tropical storm. But watch as we go throughout the week, this thing starts to die off in a big way until it eventually gets absorbed by this huge low pressure system working off the northeast coast of Canada. So this is not going to be a problem for the United States, and this likely won't even make the fish that mad. All right, the other big hotspot in the tropics right now has been the Pacific Ocean. We have yet another system. We just had a hurricane that slammed Mexico's southeast coast right in here. That was Category 3 Eric, where Josh Morgan got a direct intercept. We've got another one that's going to form behind it and push this way. So if you do live down in the southwest coast of Mexico, just heads up, our Mexico brethren. Outside of that, the tropics are quiet. We don't have any systems pushing off the west coast of Africa. Nothing looks imminent. If something does, I'll be the first to tell you here. All right, so what about our rain, and who is going to be the big winners of rain and who will be the big losers? Right now, it's looking like underneath of this high pressure, like you would normally expect, you're not going to get a lot of rain. All of the rain is going to be on the peripheries of that high in Iowa, Wisconsin, through Michigan as well, even into Kansas, and then along the Gulf Coast. These are your daytime showers and storms as the sea breeze pushes in. You guys will also get some rain. And check out New Mexico. Big time monsoon season starting to heat up as well. Guys, a massive shout out to all of you guys here at the channel that have all of our new subscribers, all of our existing subscribers, all of our OGs that have been with us since day one. We just hit 10,000 subscribers, and we couldn't have done it without you. Seriously, guys, I put a lot of hard work in this channel, a lot of long hours, but it has all been worth it, and I love you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of our journey. First stop, 10,000. Next stop, 100,000. With your help, we can get us there. And lastly, guys, this is the cat of the video. This is StormCat67, and this cat is watching me on TV. That's cool. So thank you, Probable Spam, for sending me this cat photo. And that's all I got for today. Find someone, tell them you love them, tell them you care about them today. Thanks for joining me, and this is StormCat5, and I'll see you on the next one.